to a very special episode of Fade to Obsidian. I am Skipper. I was about to say I'm Crescent. I'm Skipper, joined as always by Crescent.
Those days.
And a very special guest to published author, our second ever published author on the podcast, Taryn or Twist. I'm going to call you both interchangeably.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
So you are joining us because you have a brand new book out, Flame of Prometheus.
Yes. Came out on January 9th. So it's exciting. It's been kind of a whirlwind. And yeah, it's crazy to see it in other people's hands for sure.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
It's here.
This lived inside my brain for several years.
Yeah.
And now it's elsewhere.
I started the book probably close to 8 years ago.
8?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, it took me 8 years to get this book published. And then the first ARC reader to finish the book finished it in 3 days. And I was like, it took me 8 years and you finished my book in 3 days. So, just a surreal feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. So were you writing all of that, or was it an idea that came to you? Like, what was happening in that 8 years?
So obviously when you're writing a novel, you don't get paid anything.
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of it during that 8 years was just on and off. Not that I ever went a day that I didn't think about it. It was just, life has different priorities in different seasons. And so sometimes writing just wasn't a priority because you're just starting out. You don't know if it's ever gonna amount to anything. So a lot of times it's just a hobby. And it was, if I really sat down and wrote every day, it probably would have taken 2 years with plotting and all the background stuff, research and stuff like that. But since I had no idea what I was doing, it took me 8.
Yeah. Well, and I bet it came out as a different book than if you did it in 2, just because you grow as a person, you change as a person. So I bet having that time to soak and ferment, if you will, probably paid off then.
Yeah, definitely. Not only that, it's just growing as a writer, growing as a person, and having all these environment influence you. I was reading a lot more, but early, when I first started this book, I was pretty much exclusively a science fiction reader. And then towards the middle, after a few years, I started reading a lot of fantasy, and that influenced my writing in different ways, being able to focus more on some different techniques and stuff like that.
Very cool.
Did you find that as you grew as a person and a writer, that it became more difficult or easier to write different characters?
That's an interesting question. I think that it became easier. As you mature as a person, you're able to understand people better, and so then you're able to put yourself into different characters' shoes a little bit more easily.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. How did the idea come to you? Are you someone who wanted to build the world? Did the plot come first? The character came first? What was the spark that led it down its journey?
Yeah, so for me as a writer, I'm a character-focused writer. So every story I've ever thought of, it always starts with character, usually my main character. So actually, this story began longer than 8 years ago because in high school, I had to do a persuasive essay for English class to pick a topic, and the topic I picked was on test tube babies.
Oh.
So I had to come to a thesis of what was genetic engineering in test tube babies ethical or not ethical.
Interesting.
And I was super curious into what that would look like in the real world, you know, because this was back in 2009, 2008, probably, when I had to write this essay. And I was a high school student, so I didn't know anything about anything. And so just wondering what that would look like in society, and maybe even like who that person would be that was completely just created in a lab.
Interesting.
So
yeah, go on. Sorry.
So I went, after I turned that essay in, I went home. We had a den in my home, sat down at the desk, and I tried to write the story from the perspective of a high school student who knew nothing.
Yeah.
And I got 5 pages. I probably didn't even get 5 pages in. And I was like, this is dumb. I'm not going to do this. And then I set that and then I just like stopped. That was the only time I ever had the inkling of writing a story up until that point in my life.
Yeah.
Then I went to college for biology. It's also where I got a lot of inspiration about my book, because then I actually learned more about genetics. I learned about CRISPR, which is something that we can get into later if we will. And I learned all these different genetic techniques and research that was being done currently. I was able to, wrap my mind more around what that would look like. And finally, my senior year, I had to drop out of college, and writing became something pinnacle in my life as I was kind of like processing through some trauma and stuff. And that's when I was like, I want to revisit the story. I was in that den at the same desk, and I was like, I want to revisit the story from a completely different angle. Yeah.
That's really cool. I was going to say, we haven't actually explained what the story is, but this does lead in, so I want to circle back to sites. But yeah. So do you want to give the mini synopsis of it? Yeah, and then I'm going to follow up, because I feel like people should have some background before my next question.
Yeah, so I'm really bad at synopses. My publisher, I should have something memorized by now. I don't. You can read the book blurb. Maybe we can put in the caption of this video or something like that.
Definitely.
But basically, my pitch to agents and publishers was a dystopian novel that is loosely based on the Promethean legend from Greek mythology. A world that circumnavigates this ethical conundrum of what genetic engineering should play, like what role genetic engineering should play in a society.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So I did not read any synopsis, or that's just how I roll. I don't read the back of the book. I just go, give me this. And so I will say, as someone who is not science-based, you did a really good job of explaining it to those of us who are relatively inept in that. So kudos to you for that. But I did love, so our main character is a redhead, and this is the one thing in being a redhead, that with the recessive gene, like that's the only thing I know about genes, is how like the redheaded gene thing. So I absolutely loved that portion and like spiking my interest there. And then how and we're gonna keep this whole interview vague so that those who have not read it don't have to worry, but getting more into the nitty gritty of how certain other things work, and as you say, the ethics behind some of that things was very interesting, because it's something that growing up, like my mom used to teach me of like, this is pretty much how rare you are, and this is how this works. And then to see it play out, it was a very interesting thing to see.
Yeah. So people who are watching who haven't read the book or don't know much about it, my main character is Red. Her name is Rowan Eloise Darrow. And basically your intro to her is she's a resistance agent, and she has red hair. And that's like an anomaly. you know, and you kind of find that out early on. I think one of my characters, Metis, I think he mentions it early on, or Red does herself. And, you know, it's just kind of, we've heard the theories that redheads could go extinct in however many hundreds of years, and they've kind of debunked it. But I thought it was a very interesting and fun theory, and so I just wanted to roll with it in my world. And, you know, it really does play in to her character.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of a kind, for sure.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You're getting, okay, she's special somehow. Like, and that kind of pulls you through of like, well, we have to figure out why she is special.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Like you, Skip.
Yeah. Aw, thanks. So, I mean, one of my questions on my one of beautiful post-it notes here was about your research. So how much extra research did you have to put into this on the science part, or because of your background, did you feel that you were, you know, you could do it?
I think that I still had to do a fair amount of research, and it's not even so much that the research always hits the page. It's just so that you're more so attacking the book at a realistic angle, you know, kind of a thing. And so you got to know like what kind of boundaries you're playing into. But a lot of it did already stem from knowledge I already had, that most of it is gone now, if I'm being honest. Like, you know, I started this book 8 years ago when I was fresh out of college, and I had a lot of that stuff at my fingertips. But luckily, my husband, he is a biology teacher at a high school. So I'll ask him for refreshers. I'm like, what does this do again? Like, is this realistic? How does this cell function work? You know, kind of like some things like that.
Cool. Very cool. Crescent, you got any questions? I have a whole list, but I want to make sure Crescent gets airtime as well here.
Not specifically this moment. Mine always just like pop in randomly.
Yeah.
Because I don't do post-it notes. I do.
You gave away your secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just all in his brain. Not a secret.
It is. Everything's in my brain. Sometimes my brain says nothing though. Just nothing at all. Yeah. I do love how many Easter eggs from Red Rising I've seen so far.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Few. And, you know, some of it is conscious and some of it is unconscious. Like, you just, like, hits the page and you're like, oh, shit.
Whoops.
Okay, just gonna roll with it.
It's just happy accident.
Right. And it's just, you know, obviously Red Rising has played such a huge role in my life, which is weird, but it's definitely my favorite series, hands down. And it's almost within the science fiction, and especially within the dystopian genre, to kind of play off of other dystopian works.
For sure.
And so like little nods here and there, which I think that also it's just how you pull in readers sometimes. It's like, oh, these are my people. These are the people that I really want to read my book. And so I want them to see something that they're familiar with and that they are attached to, because then, you know, hopefully they'll be attached to my work.
Yeah. Well, you had a beautiful acknowledgement to the den at the very back.
I know. It was, well, I mean.
I have to go find it.
Crescent, have you not? I won't read it now, but it's, there's an acknowledgement.
Well, part of it was
I will look when we're done here.
I mean, part of it was that, like, half of the people that applied for my ARC readers were people from the den. And I think half of my book orders came from the den. So it's like, how could I not, you know, thank you guys for supporting me in the beginning of this journey.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be...
book.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I was lucky enough to be one of the ARC readers, and it's funny. I don't know if you know this, that there was a group chat, but that's not how I roll when reading anything. So there was a group chat that I got added to, and they were, and I muted it because I don't even like when people are like, "Oh, chapter 20," because then I'm sitting there like, so something happens in
What's
chapter
happening
20 that's worth noting. Like, I don't even open the spoiler, and I'm like, well, now I'm going into chapter 20 being like, what am I expecting? So it was pretty funny that, like, it was the moment I was done. I was like, sorry, guys. You added me to this, and now I've ignored you the whole time. And I think they were all like, we know how you roll. I was like, thanks. But there was so much excitement between, I think there was five or six people in that group of just the moment they got it. And just absolutely loving it. So yeah, huge support there. And from everyone. Well warranted, though. Well warranted.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I did not expect it. So, I mean, it is really cool to see that happening.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what other, so myths are pulled into this Red Rising. You call out Frankenstein, and I can see some Frankenstein-y inspiration there. I'm going to take a quick moment because today, so I always do my background up, and I was like, other than the one book, what am I going to put? Winnie the Pooh is a huge call out.
Nice.
This is my dad's copy of Winnie the Pooh that sits on my bookshelf that even today was up there because I live with my dad, but he doesn't even remember I have it. And I was like telling him, I was like, oh yeah, the book has like huge Winnie the Pooh, like underlying, storyline-esque. And I was like, so guess what I'm doing? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, it's your copy, Dad. It's from the 60s. The Winnie. So I loved that.
That's so cool.
That's amazing.
Right? It's like super cute. This one doesn't. I also have the sequel to Winnie the Pooh that was his that says it's what is it? Pooh's Corner. I forget what the full title is.
Yeah,
and in that one it says Davy across it. I'm like, when were you Davy? But yeah, you get like the cute old school 60s.
The map.
The map is there. So that all the old pictures and stuff. So I absolutely love that. Reading it through, I was like, oh my gosh, and then today I was like, I have to put it. But other than that, what other inspiration did you draw from, or if any?
Definitely. So yeah, Frankenstein, Red Rising, Winnie the Pooh was just a happenstance. It was just like her dad called her Winnie. Hey, that's cute. I want to pull in some whimsy into my book. So I was like, this is how we're gonna do it. So that was fun. And what else? I mean, 1984 was a big one. The Giver.
Oh, yeah. I was getting Giver vibes, but then, yeah.
And Legend by Marie Lu.
I own it. I have not read it yet.
Oh, I actually really love that series.
Okay.
It's a really, really good series. So definitely read it. I even had Summit. She reached out to me. She's like, Taryn, I'm getting total Legend vibes. Like, did you read Legend? I'm like, yes. And the thing about Legend is it's focused around two main characters. You have June and you have Day. And June, she works for their government. Basically, she's a soldier. And she's like known as a prodigy. So kind of getting Rowan Red vibes there. But I went a totally different direction for the male character. The other male character in Legend series is Day, and he's known as the legend of the series because he always evades capture from the government. Okay. He's like the number one wanted person in this government, and he always evades capture. And so having those two cross paths, it's just a really cool series. And so that kind of played into more of a dynamic role into my book more than anything.
Cool. Very cool. Okay.
What else? I don't know. Go ahead.
You don't know? No. Keep going if there's other ones.
I was just going to mention that, like, especially with Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. So, Frankenstein was probably one of the few books that I actually like to read actually liked reading in high school, like something that was given to you. You're like, you
Mm-hmm.
have to read this. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting. But no, Frankenstein is very similar in my book in the fact that it also is known as a Promethean retelling. So that was the central theme of really this book, continuing on into the series, is playing on the original legend of Prometheus.
Yeah, of course. Very cool. Okay, so you've got your background, biology, genetics. You've got your love of books. Let's talk. What else have you incorporated? There is something that I'm leading towards over here that I know Crescent chose a drink specifically for.
So love of drinks, and you get that in the book a little bit. Like the Callum is a Scotch guy.
Yeah.
So my main love interest is a Scotch guy,
That's
and like, how could I not make my love interest a Scotch guy?
Of course. What kind of
great guys, I gotta say.
What are you drinking for this, Crescent? Which scotchery do you have?
Lafroig quarter cask. Was I drinking? It's gone now.
Another one.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Have you tried any of the purchases?
Yep, I have the warehouse one. I have the white port and Madeira. I have
the white port and Madeira.
It's so
favorite.
good. I've had the port and wine barrels. I also have the cask strength triple wood.
Right before I became, I'm pregnant now. So right before I was pregnant, Lafroig, Carriages, the white port and Madeira barrel was my jam. Because I love peated Scotch, but for some reason that one turned out super juicy. Like
it's like there's very white wine in it. Like
interesting. I haven't had that one.
Yes, it's like more fruit forward than Lafroig usually turns out. And so I was just obsessed with it.
Interesting.
I also have recently found a bunch of the Ardbeg special editions.
Ooh, have you tried the heavy vapors yet?
I haven't. I have Anamorphic, I have Bizarrebecue, I have Ardcore, I have Scorch. And then I have Oobdal, Coreyvrecken. I saw Ardbeg Anthology at the liquor store yesterday, but it was like $300. It's like, I'm not gonna buy that as much as I want to.
Perhaps not.
Well, what mocktail are you drinking tonight? We normally kick off our episodes asking this, and we jumped right in.
No,
so let's go back. And what are we having?
Something I just made up on the fly. I had rosemary simple syrup in the fridge, lemon juice, blood orange juice, orange bitters, and soda water. So just something simple.
Yeah.
It's red, so it counts.
Something simple. That seems like 10 extra ingredients than I would ever put in something simple. But sure.
Skipper's simple drinks consist of whiskey.
Yeah.
Or gin.
Gin. Just rum. I like my sipping rum, so thank you very much.
True. It's true.
Just for you, I was like, what am I going to do? And I made the Lysander, which is what we drank last time you were on. But I was like, what ingredients do... I don't know how to make cocktails, and you gave me the ingredients.
Did you use real lemon juice?
I did this time, but I did not use real simple syrup because, again, I didn't prep that in time. So it was still sugar instead of simple syrup, but real lemons. Listen, we're making baby steps here.
Technically, if you shake it hard enough, just sugar becomes simple syrup. So
thank you.
It's not totally wrong.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, because I went, I have all those things, and then I was making it, and I was like, the sugar. Damn it. And I was like, whatever. There's my spoonful.
Yeah.
Yep. The Lysander is good.
Mm-hmm. It's so dangerous. Okay, so you can see I like poured out
all of the
two.
drinks
This
you make
one
are
was
just,
full, and then this, I know.
Violently alcoholic.
Oh my gosh. Whenever I have someone come up to the bar and they're like, can you make me a drink, but nothing too strong? I'm like, I'm going to be honest with you.
Sorry, I can't do that.
I don't know how to do that. It's not in my repertoire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can give you half a drink.
Yeah. It's delicious.
It's just going to be half of a strong one.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Love it.
for our last episode, I actually made the other drink that you custom made for us, the Ragnar.
The Ragnar.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
God, it was still so good.
But yeah, that one's potent, but it had to be because it's Ragnar.
Yep. Yeah, it's a ripper.
Can't make a weak drink for Ragnar.
That's true.
We will put both the Lysander and the Ragnar recipes down below in the description.
Scotch.
Sure, and the Scotch.
Everything. Just down below.
Okay, we're going to have so many things.
Maybe if we tag Lefroy enough, they'll sponsor us.
Oh, man.
I would die happy.
I wish you luck. I was going to say, the other thing we will tag is where to get this book, which is pretty much everywhere. So in the US, it is all major booksellers, Amazon, as well as through Phantom Press, but I think Barnes & Noble's,
Barnes & Noble.
And in Canada, Amazon as well as Indigo is now carrying it. So you can order through Indigo, employee, but disclaimer, all opinions are on my own. Order it. And then I'm pretty sure worldwide through Amazon. Like, I think almost all of our European howlers have managed to get their hands on.
I think
I had no idea.
I think they do the same thing that Redbubble does, and they print it locally, because mine says it's printed in like some small town in Alberta.
I have not.
They must do that.
I think it's like inside the front or the back cover. Oh, it's just like on one of the info pages. It says something.
Love it.
So I had no idea. I just forget who told me first. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, I was able to order it," and I'm like, "What?" And so I texted my publisher. I'm like, "Can I have my friends in Europe order it?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, worldwide." I'm like, "Oh, that's snooze."
Yeah. That's so cool. That's all. You are worldwide, so
yeah,
that's a mistake.
It is absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You have earned this, and you're not allowed to discredit yourself.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
We do not stand for negative self-talk in the den.
Yes. I know. We had to hype you up your pub day. We were in Legend Legion, which, for those who don't know, the Legend Legion in the Howler's Den is all of the quote-unquote verified accounts. So it's everyone who has a podcast, or like yourself for Fabled Spirits, content creators that we know are trusted. They have a backing, they have a name, so that when people are in the den, and
people who we know actually exist as a person.
Yeah. Is the Legend Legion. And you, the day of your publication, we were celebrating you, and you're like, "Oh, there's so many cooler people in here." And we were like, "Absolutely not."
Stop.
No. Absolutely there's a voice actress in there who did the Red Rising stuff. That's pretty cool.
Great. But you know what she wouldn't have been able to do if somebody hadn't written the book?
Yeah.
Act it.
You know what? I can always reach out to her and see if she wants to do my book.
Fucking bet. Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
And I didn't even think about that.
Do it.
Of course. I have to,
it goes to the publisher. And yeah.
Right.
But
yeah.
Connections. We're just here to make connections.
That's all we're here.
I will say, okay, so getting back to the book, my favorite thing, and I didn't know this about myself until reading this, that the fact that and again, we're going to keep this super vague, the fact that you can trust nobody in this book is my absolute new favorite thing. And I was like, I didn't know that was a trope that I like, of trust nobody.
Trust nobody.
Yeah.
Literally every chapter, it's like, oh, I'm pretty sure this guy. Nope, just kidding. Oh, that one we hate. Nope, we like him. What? Hold on, flip that one. Nope, flip it back. Flip it again. Flip what? Which I think really warrants your name of Twist as the den. So many twists.
Yep.
Honestly,
I'm very happy with how that turned out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you named.
I named you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you named me.
Yeah.
I named you.
That sounds like So weird. Like I popped out of my mother's womb and his cousin's like, yeah, I named you.
I am the namer.
He named me as well, so.
That, like, when people started saying that, like, oh my gosh, Taryn, there's so many twists in this book. I'm like, what are you... Me, I've just been working with it for so long that everything seemed predictable to me. And so it was, you know, when that was some feedback I was getting, I was like, oh, it's so obvious that you do not trust this person. Like, and it, you know, for new readers, it never occurred to me that it would be opposite, that it would, you know, that they would have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not seeing the forest for the trees anymore.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Like, literally every chapter, I'm like, oh, cool, this person seems great. Maybe not. Maybe yes.
It's like, wait, hold the
maybe
fuck
not.
up.
This person, I definitely don't trust. Oh, wait, maybe we do? What's happening? What's happening? Like, you and just enough that you flip back and forth. And it's amazing. So did you plot all of that, or are you a pantser?
I'm definitely in the middle ground.
Okay.
What do we call that? There's a
planter.
middle word. A plantser. I have no idea. I'm definitely in the middle there. For the first couple years that I was working on this book, it was more answer. I would just write whatever scenes came to mind. Mm-hmm. And then at some point, I was like, I have to plot all this down and know where I'm going, because I have the idea in my head, but it gets jumbled when you sit down and you're writing at the laptop. And so I'm like, I just need to know where I'm going and to have a synopsis for every chapter. And that's pretty much my writing style. That's what I did with my fantasy book that I hope to publish one day. Is I started out with the scenes that I had in mind, and usually it revolved around my main characters. And then once I got a feel for those characters and who they were, I was able to sit down and plot the whole thing in one day, and then that gave me direction.
Yeah. I love it. But yeah, all the twists and turns, it's like, did some of them surprise you? Like, where you're like, oh, that's not where I thought it was going? Or?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Some of them definitely surprised me. I love that. That's the best thing about writing, is like you like in flow, and then you finish it and you're like, holy fuck, like what just happened?
Oh shit, I did not see that coming.
I didn't see that coming. That wasn't supposed to happen. Because the fact is, and my husband, I tell him this all the time, he can't wrap his mind around it. But even though I'm the author, these characters do whatever they fucking want. Like, there's no, for somehow when I'm writing at my laptop, there's no stopping these people. And so you just kind of have to go with it and hope that, you know, if something's out of character, you just fix it in the editing process. But a lot of times, your mind is just working through stuff, you know, subconsciously, and kind of know who this character is more than you think that you do.
Right.
Who's your favorite character?
I mean, I'm usually the main character. I'm all about the strong female character. So Rowan is but also being redhead at heart. Like, it feels like the predictable one.
Okay, but who's your favorite secondary character then?
Ooh.
I really like Sankus and Alethea.
I was gonna say, how do you pronounce it? Alethea? Alethea. I love just like keeping it vague, but the shopping trip. Like I just like from that moment was the like, yep.
Really shined then. It was good.
Yeah, and then the scene right after where what's again keeping it vague, that I was like, ooh, I have interest here. There's interest here. You have sparked me. Yeah.
I think my first favorite character is Sirius.
Sirius is the dog, for those.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so Sirius is your favorite character.
Sirius is the best. He's just adorable. I love any dog.
He's
And
good as a character.
trying to, well, I'm like holding back just about things. Yeah, I'm trying to think who else is not really spoilers to talk about, because some of the other ones get mentioned earlier in passing and then show up that I feel like is that a spoiler of who that person is. So I'm just gonna, we'll talk after.
We have another episode that's full
Yeah,
spoilers.
we should do full spoilers.
Absolutely, we should.
We should.
That would be fun.
That would.
Because,
Yes.
I mean, I'm so bad because I just want to spoil everything.
I know.
And
well, and having you here, I'm like, can we discuss? Okay, so then on that note, it clearly says book 1. How many books are we expecting? And not to pressure, because you take your time. You put whatever work needs to be in there. But do we have an inkling of time for the second one?
So I'm planning on 3 books. I have an idea for a spin-off series, but I don't know if I'm going to do that or when I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Because I definitely want to get to my fantasy series, because that's going to be epic. But as far as book 2 goes, so you guys know that book, it was 8 years from first thought to actually getting published. I probably finished this book 2 years ago.
Okay.
It really took me probably about 6 years. And that's because I think I finished it before, I know I finished it before COVID, so before 2020.
That's 4 years ago.
Yeah, that is 4 years ago.
Okay. But that was like a first draft. Okay. So first draft was done.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Fair.
First draft was done. Man, I only finished that book in 4 years then. Anyways, I'm fine.
Look at you go.
You're having fun. And then during COVID, since I was in the restaurant industry, I was laid off for months.
Yeah.
And my other friends, they scrambled to get like other jobs like at Aldi or whatever. But luckily, I was married at the time. My husband still had his job. He was teaching. And I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna take the money from the government and just work on my book. And so I did a whole lot of editing during those months. I worked like writing was my full-time job. I woke up, I edited, I wrote, I learned, I did more research, I worked on my craft. And so 2020 and 2021 was a huge growing and editing year for my first book, The Flame of Prometheus. But after that was finished, I queried a lot of agents. So querying is a big project where you have to write a query letter and you basically have to sell your books to agents. And I did that for that was 2020. I probably started querying in 2021. And so probably around 2022, I had submitted probably close to 100 different queries. I'd queried 100 different agents. Probably close to that. And all rejections. Just absolutely nothing. And part of that was because the publishing industry was weird after 2020. I mean, everything was fucking weird.
Yeah.
No one knew what was happening. But I was really just distraught. And so when I had moved from where I was living up north in Wisconsin back to the Milwaukee area, I pretty much was like, you know what? This is my first book I ever wrote. I've heard that you never get your first book published. So I'm going to scrap the project, start a new one. That's when I started my fantasy series, probably in 2022. 2023 is when I worked on it. So I just pretty much thought that this book wasn't going to get published until Phantom House Press said that they were open for submissions. And prior to that, I already had a contract with them with my cocktail book. So I knew I already had an in.
Yeah.
But I will say the one thing that I did before I submitted my project is I actually wrote a completely new first chapter. So the first chapter that you guys have,
which is such an epic, good, sucks you in chapter.
Yep.
So I did not add that chapter until I submitted it to Phantom House Press.
Interesting.
And so that chapter was never going to be in the book. It was going to start at what is now chapter 2. Which probably isn't a very good start to a book. So that's probably why, I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why agents don't take you. And obviously I'm very, very happy to be with Phantom House Press. But it's just funny that the first chapter that you guys read is actually the newest thing that I've written.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah. And it sucks you in immediately that you're like, okay. Okay, this is action. This is,
And I had a lot of, I like submitted my first chapter for input at various conferences and stuff like that. Pardon me. And some people told me, they're like, Taryn, we don't know if this is where your first chapter should start. We don't know if this is where your book should start. But like ever since I, thought of Red, that was her. And I was just convinced that was my first chapter. So I didn't listen to any of that. And then finally at the last ditch effort, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just try something for the hell of it. And it worked. Got their attention.
Interesting. I love that.
Hell yeah.
Out of curiosity, so we know, go back to Red Rising to compare, Pierce queried 125 times for Red Rising. Do you know what your query number was?
I would have to look.
You'd have to look, but it's up there, kind of a thing. I'm just thinking for other people who were trying, don't just take the first rejection because you got to keep trying.
Yeah. And the fact is, you really have to do your research on the people that you're querying, because you can't just query everyone. And the query letter.
I've lost your
yeah, we've got no audio from you.
There you go.
Hello.
Now you're good.
Okay. Sorry, I probably didn't like the fact that I was on a different page.
Okay.
But I'll have to look up that number. But basically, like, I wrote every agent. I probably wrote a different letter. Like I changed it somehow because I'm like,
smart to do.
Okay, well, if this doesn't work, then maybe this will work. If this doesn't work, then maybe this will work because your query letter is your cover letter. Like you're trying to sell not only your book but yourself.
Yep.
And so it's just so daunting. I hate writing summaries and I hate writing query letters. And I hope that I never have to write another query letter again, but you never really know.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. I'm seeing through my list. I think we've hit all of my posted notes at the moment.
All the posted notes.
You've actioned all of your posted notes.
New Year's resolution. They've all been actioned. It's great. Trying to think. I'm going to pour myself while I think. Since I'm calling in sick tomorrow, I might as well. That's getting edited out.
We don't have
lost your audio again.
Okay.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
You're back.
76.
76. Okay.
That's the number. So I queried 76 people. Most of them I didn't hear back from. Only one agent requested a full manuscript. Then ended up obviously rejecting it. And most of them you just don't hear back from.
Yeah. Yep. But kudos to you on that.
Yeah, keeping
drive.
after it. Like,
yeah. Because most people don't, and that becomes their downfall of, you don't know if the next person will. So kudos to you for that. And Phantom was smart to pick you up on it. Good job to them.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, the editor over at Phantom House Press rocks. I mean, it's what they do is magic, because the words are mine, but they change little things. They change, like, maybe the sentence structure a little bit. Maybe they, combine sentences, split them apart, and somehow it just makes it flow better. I was before, when we were working on the big edits, like big picture edits, that's fine. But I was like reading through my manuscript. I was like, oh man, I've read this all before. Like, you're just kind of tired. And then, after reading the line edits that she gave back to me, I was like, oh my gosh, it sounds way better than I could have even imagined it. So editors and line editors, they're brilliant people, man. They're brilliant people.
Nice. Yeah. Credit where credit's due. Love it. Yeah. Well, I mean, we said half an hour and we're at 47 minutes because you're incredible and we want to just keep talking, but we want to do it with full. So let's do in, let's say, a month. We'll release this, which is coming out the day after we record this on a random Monday. And then we'll give everybody a month to read it. And then we'll come back at the end of February, I guess.
And then I can do spoilers.
We can do full spoilers. Yeah. So if you are watching this and have read it or are going to read it in the next couple weeks, if you read before, let's say, February 18th, send questions and we will ask Twist/Taryn, depending on, I know, your government name, just so we can sell you more. We can ask you all the questions. That'd be good.
Yes.
That'd be fantastic.
I just like to.
So excited.
No, and that's always obviously send questions into you guys.
Yeah, but you as well.
Yeah, I love talking to people about it because, it's so cool. A lot of people have been asking about, the Red Rising stuff. Like, oh, did you name this character because it's like this character? And some of them are like that. Mm-hmm. Some of them are not. Some of them are just like, oh, that's just a happy coincidence. I liked the meaning of that name. Stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my god, I was going to give the biggest Red Rising spoiler there, and I'm going to hold back.
Now I'm curious.
Well, I'll say it after we cut, because I know, which we'll have to do the other one without Red Rising spoilers so that we can get you that fan base of not just Red Rising people. I'm just saying. We're going to work the algorithm here.
Get everybody.
Work the algorithm. Oh my god, I had a follow-up and then I got too hooked on that one. But anyway, we will do that. So send to... Who are you on Instagram? How can people reach out? How can people get you?
On Instagram, I'm Taryn L. Davidson. So give me a follow. And if you have any questions about the book, I have my link there to go purchase the book. I think the link is to Barnes & Noble right now, but you can get on Amazon.
Reach.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Backwards.
It's a super nice
Do you
book.
I only have the paper. I'm going to order the hardcover. I feel like I only have the paper.
You have the hardcover?
I have regrets. Show us the hardcover.
This is the hardcover. And this is what the...
You get a picture of yourself in the hardcover. I don't think you're in the... Oh, you are. You're on the last page.
In black and white. This one I'm in color.
Look at you.
So fancy. But yeah, so this is the hardcover. Both should be available for sale now. Unfortunately, signed copies are not available for sale anymore. Yeah, so pretty much wherever books are sold, you can get it. And Taryn L. Davidson for Instagram. I'm on the TikToks as well.
Ooh.
But
We should get on the TikToks. We haven't gotten on the TikTok. I'm personally on the TikToks, but I feel like Fade needs to get on the TikToks.
I mean, the whole world is going TikTok now.
I know. I was gonna say, yeah, so that's US just for our Canadian listeners, because we like to pretend that there's more than just the two of us in this country. Definitely Amazon and Indigo, and if it's carried at Indigo, that means any of the independents in Canada can carry it. So go hit them up, and if you don't want to support the big conglomerates, you can ask through any of your independents to get it in. But yeah, highly recommend. So good. So good. I can't wait for you to sign my copy. I'm going to show up at your house and get you to sign
That's fine.
it. Yeah, I figure it would. Most people I wouldn't make that threat, but you, I feel like I can make that threat.
If you do show up at my house, then I'm going to keep you here until we have plans for our bar and bookstore.
Yes. We have a big, we've got plans. We'll do it.
So you can make that threat, but I will threaten you back.
Because for those listening who haven't figured it out, we have, you're like a manager of a bar. I'm a manager of a bookstore. Somehow we need to combine that, but we just need to work it together, and everyone can get drunk and buy books. Hear me out.
I mean, what is better than that? What's better than that?
Yeah, that's literally every dream.
The dream.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Especially.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It was great talking with you.
Anytime.
So good. Anytime. You just tell us you want to show
Yeah, you got something you want to talk about? Hit us up.
We're here for it. But yeah, so we will do at the end of February, we will have you back and go full spoilers, no holdbacks. Yeah.
So bad with spoilers. I just like to spoil everything, but I can't also spoil it.
I know. Well, that's some of my questions as well. It's like, or like answers. It's like, I don't know.
I mean, you're going to ask me questions. You're going to be like, what happens in the second book? I'm like, well, now you're just being mean.
Oh, no. No. I don't like theorizing, so I'm going to be like, no, absolutely not. This ends at this. I don't even read the back of the cover. I go into it completely blind, being like, sure. So that's great. Yeah. So everyone, highly recommend. Give it a read and then get back to us. That'll be great. Thank you everybody for listening and watching. Pick it up. We've got recipes now in the description. We have where you can buy it in the description. There is a shit ton of stuff in this description. So take a look.
Yeah, the description is now a book.
Yeah.
It's now a new book. We're going to get published.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be great. All right. Thank you, watchers. Have a good night.